Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the HSC podcast, podcast number 2, looking at the NFL playoffs. Welcome back. Steve here, hosting Big Box. We got Fresh West on the bottom and Derek, the Nature Boy Haney. I'm going to call you the Nature Boy until next week, and then we'll come up with a new nickname.
Ooh.
All right, guys. So, before we jump back in here to a recap of NFL playoffs wild card, let's talk a little bit about a movie for a second. Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. What's the first movie you think of?
White Men Can't Jump.
White Men Can't Jump, right? But
Money
we're talking
Train.
Football.
Wildcats.
1986, right? 6 years before White Men Can't Jump. Most underrated football movie, in my opinion, of all. If you haven't seen that and you're listening to this podcast, you better watch Wildcats. It's a great movie. Have you both seen it?
Oh yeah, millions of times.
Millions of times, right? It's the sport of kings. So, talking about NFL wild card playoffs, we did week 1. We all went 5-1 in our picks. Scores were a little bit off, right?
I thought me and Wes would have gone 4-2, I think.
You guys lost the San Francisco Dallas game.
And the Raiders.
Oh, yes, you guys did. So I was trying to give you extra credit here. Derek's honest there. And so 4-2, 4-2, 5-1. But honestly, the wild card was kind of an easy round. And before we just get right into the actual picks and recap, what do you guys think of the new playoff system? So this is very new for us, right? We've been years and years of this older system. How is it having this 6 teams in the wild card and only 1 bye? So Derek, what do you think?
I mean, it's hard because both the Eagles and Steelers shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They were completely overmatched. With the Eagles didn't even beat a playoff team this year. I kind of like it though, because then it means only 1 team gets a bye from each division or for each conference. But I know in other years there's been better teams, but the last 2 years it's not been good games.
You think about with that 7th team, they're letting in worse teams and maybe making it easier, or I mean, I feel like it was pretty easy to pick these games.
Yeah, besides what the Cowboys game and the Raider game, none of the games are close, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Wes? What do you like? You like the new playoff system? Is it good? Is it bad for the game? What's happening?
They always say more teams, it's, more of a chance for upsets, but I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. That teams like Pittsburgh are not going to beat Kansas City, but who knows? 1 year, it might happen. They might make a run at, that 7th seed, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference. It's kind of weird I'm always used to having 2 teams having a bye. So just having one, the first seed having a bye, it's hard getting used to. I'm like, oh yeah, Tennessee's in the playoffs, totally forget. And so I don't think it makes that much of a difference. It's more TV ratings, Monday night, playoff games and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, they literally went all weekend, right? Like it was hard to keep up on all the games. You got to like really commit. I'm gonna spend some time here. Well, you said something interesting about the bye there, and I think it makes probably the regular season a little more important, right? Because now you only get 1 bye versus 2, so you're really fighting for that first round bye, because that's huge. Because even though a lot of the teams we expected to win won, you like, Derek said, there could be an upset, like you just never know, right? So why not let somebody else in there? And so I think it makes the regular season a little more important. I did you kind of lose sight of the Packers and the Titans because they had the bye, right? You had these
Yeah.
6 games going on. So I got to say, I actually personally like the new format. So I think that's a good thing. So with that said, though, the reason I brought that up is because I do feel like it was a little easier picking games this week. So of the games that happen here, where are surprises? So Derek corrected me. You guys went both 4-2, picking the Raiders and the Cowboys, and those teams did not win. So let's start with you, Wes. What were your surprises? What happened in the wild card that either you thought was going to happen, didn't think was going to happen, and recap your week.
I think the biggest surprise was Buffalo just beating the crap out of the Patriots the way they did. I mean, I figured they were going to win, but not, they just unleashed on Bill Belichick. That was surprising to start out with. Cowboys, of course. I shouldn't be surprised about the Cowboys because it seems like it happens every year with them. They completely choke. They're the biggest chokers. And, you're kind of like walking on that fine line of picking them. I'm like, yeah, come on, this 1 year, they're gonna show up. And to only score 17 points, to me, that was this surprise. And Arizona's performance was hideous against the Rams. I wasn't expecting a performance like that from them, but even though I did pick the Rams, and other games, not too shocked about.
Yeah, I felt like it. Like again, maybe it's just lucky going 5-1, and I really could have gone either way on that Rams Arizona game, but I felt like you kind of knew who was going to win. That Dallas game, of course, shocked everybody as far as like the betting community, right? The odds and who everybody thought would win. But I think there's still a lot of people that weren't as surprised.
It was only a +3.
Right.
So it was a home favorite. So it wasn't that big on the betting either.
Yeah, Dallas at home. I mean, yeah, that you would have thought they would have won, right? But they just didn't come out great.
But it's Dallas.
Right. But yeah, you guys both picked Dallas. So I mean, I guess hindsight's 20/20, right?
Well, when in doubt, you take the home team in the playoffs usually.
Right. Yeah. So recap your week, Derek. What were your big surprises? What happened that you missed on, and what you think could have happened.
Well, the Dallas game, I kind of gave up on because they looked horrible, and I thought it was just going to be a huge blowout. They came back. Dak Prescott needs to just be quiet. He messed up. It wasn't no ref's fault. It was his fault. You don't hand the ball to the center. You give it to the official. Come on, dude. Don't complain about that. That's not the ref's fault. Though it was the ref's fault for blowing an inadvertent whistle in the Raider game.
Now, we knew that was coming up.
But
it was a touchdown anyway. I mean,
it didn't outcome the game. The only problem I have was, why do people think the NFL is sketchy? Because they don't just admit it, that it was an inadvertent whistle. They were like, oh, well, no, it was this. No, just stop and just say we messed up and then move on. Don't try to cover your tracks. That's what you're doing all the time. So stop it, NFL. Stop covering your tracks.
Yeah, just own your mistake.
Yeah. Besides that, I mean, yeah, the way that the Bills just took, 20 years of frustration out on the Patriots and Bill Belichick. It was kind of like, we're done with you. We're going to run this score up. You know what? You can run the ball all you want. We're going to score 40, 50 points on you. And so.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shocker, I mean, I thought the Patriots would have showed up a little better for that game, but Buffalo was determined. They really wanted to hand it to the Patriots right there. It's interesting, and I don't think the Raider Bengals game was the only game this weekend that you had some referee mishaps, or you can call it the difference. I think they showed that one in the Dallas was earlier in the game where the ref, he went and placed the ball, but then he was standing in the middle and tell him to wait, but the play clock's running down to like 3 seconds and he's still standing next to the center.
Yeah, that was,
and watching, like, you call a backwards pass in the Rams and the Arizona game, but you didn't review it, or you don't look at that. You're just, it was really close. Like that for me, it's like when they call the first down and you haven't measured and it's like right on the line. It's like, wait a minute, if I'm the other team, I'm wondering, hey, can we look at this? So, there might be some value in that. And I know it's a time suck on the game, but that's why we have replay. That's why I have cameras and to check some of that stuff out.
I can't stand the fact that, oh, well, this isn't a reviewable play, but this is. It's like, no, everything should be reviewable. I don't care. If it has an outcome on the game, it should be reviewable. Simple as that. That's what they got New York for, right?
Yep.
In the Raider game, Braylon Edwards had a catch on the field. They called it no catch. New York called down and said it was a catch. So they didn't even have to review it.
Right.
Why can't they do that?
For every play, right?
Yeah. They're watching the games just like us.
If you're already going to waste my time on having play on instant replay and these reviews, you might as well just do it all the way, right?
Right.
How do you feel about the replay and some of these calls, Wes, and what's happening now with that?
Well, people are always going to have, beliefs that, and you hear it all the time from people in conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, it's it's fixed, or but I don't like to get into talking about as far as like, an NFL's agenda when it comes to TV ratings and the Super Bowl. But we'll see what happens in the NFC Championship, AFC Championship games, because it seems like there's always some call that everyone's like, especially New Orleans, that oh yeah, the NFL has an agenda.
Well, I mean, you guys know it as well as any with the tuck rule.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean,
immaculate reception.
Yeah, that's just hatred for the Raiders. Not, they want a team. They just dislike the Raiders. They just have it out for them. But I don't know. I just, you hang your hat on a few calls that, especially the Dak Prescott, what he did was just.
That's his own fault, right?
You should know better. And it's not the coach's fault. It's not the offensive coordinator's fault. It's his fault. He's got the ball in his hands. It's his. He should know that you don't have a lot of time. You better get down. And those few extra yards are not going to make it.
Not going to help you, right?
Yeah, you got to go to the end zone. It does not matter.
So that's everybody talks about this like it's the ref's fault or good or bad call. It's like if Dak gets down a second earlier, right? Even 1 second earlier, 2 yards, half 2.5 yards, whatever it is. If he gets down at least earlier, even the hands it to the center and then they hand it to the ref, they still have time to spike it, right? So it's really the fact that, you go back to the beginning of, it doesn't matter. He could have got down a second or two earlier and that's a moot point. So yeah, you can't. And now you're hanging your hat though on the whole one play decided the game.
Yeah,
you got to that point already, right? Like, so you can't come down and be like, oh, we could have won this game. Right. Well, yes, you could have through the first three, in 7/8 quarters.
Yeah, it would be no different they tried an onside kick and didn't get it, and then they're like, "Oh well, if we," and I'm like, "No, you're losing for a reason.
Right.
You're gonna have to throw a Hail Mary. It's not like you're going to score and you're inside the 5-yard line or something. No, you're going to throw it up in the air and hopefully someone miraculously comes down with it. So no, it didn't lose you the game. The game was already lost.
Yeah, and I hate to bring up the Raiders game, but everybody, and it's not just Raiders fans. I've seen a lot of people talking about this reffing crew not going to get the ref anymore playoff games. And let's talk about the inverted whistles is one of the things people keep bringing up. And it's like, if you really listen and watch that play, Burrow throws the ball and the whistle blows after he's throwing the ball, right? Even if that whistle blowed, we play football. We know what you're not stopping yourself instantly because the whistle blew. It only takes a half a second for that football to get from the 5-yard line to the back of the end zone. And there's no, I'm not stopping myself because I heard a whistle. The play was already done, is my point, right? And so you get excited about that, and you say, well, what? Nobody could have, in that extra half a second that the whistle blew, knocked down that ball. It was going to be a touchdown anyway. Yeah, it was a little bit inverted whistle, but that doesn't change the outcome of the play.
But that wasn't that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's just what
there
people
was
are talking about.
Tons of questionable things going on. I mean, Steve, you've said it before. There's holding on every play.
Right.
And there were some questionable holds too. It's like, dude, like Jacobs runs for 20 yards holding. They killed like 2 or 3 drives because of a holding penalty. Yes, the Leatherwood one was, but the others were like, it could go either way. And then they did it to the Bengals too on the pass interference, which was kind of sketchy also. That was just a bad crew. And it wasn't just, and that's why they're not doing it anymore, because they had so many questionable calls.
And the reality is, to me, there's questionable calls all game. Like, how many times are you yelling at the screen like, hey, didn't you see that hold? Didn't you see that? Like, didn't you see that? You see receivers getting held, and tackled, and it's like, well, how could they miss that? I get that. And just to say, legitimately every reffing crew though has problems, and we could pick apart them all. And to say these guys are not going to ref again, we could go back through any of the games in the playoffs and guarantee you we could pick out, 20 missed calls.
Yeah, but these aren't missed calls. These are calls that they did a lot of. This reffing crew was more about themselves than the game. That's, refs, you're not even supposed to know. I should not know who Jerome Bozier is, right? I mean, should I know who he is? No. But I knew who he was watching that game and being like, oh my gosh, how many of these calls? Because it wasn't like they were missed calls. It was like they were calling everything.
Yeah, it kind of sometimes the way a basketball game goes, the refs kind of decide how they're going to call the game, and now you're getting fouls, in the bonus every quarter. I do kind of feel like they were just kind of playing that game tighter than it was, and there was probably more against the Raiders than obviously against Cincinnati, but I think kind of went both ways a little bit. And it's hard to pick apart the refs when, again, we could look at every single game they ref and say, you guys made lots of mistakes. So unfortunately, it worked against the Raiders, I think, that week, and
like usual.
Yeah. But, I guess you might think about, hey, that's the reputation you earn. The Raiders, they've earned that over years. So maybe that's just what they got to live with.
Yeah.
So let's talk about divisional round, right? I think this is where the playoffs get interesting for me anyway. I like I said, I really do feel like the wild card round was kind of settled. But now we get into a couple different things happening. And the first game is Cincinnati, Tennessee. And so this is a really interesting game, I think, to me. I've been, reading a lot about this one. I watched all the Cincinnati games, a couple of them recently. So Wes, what do you think here? What's happening in this Cincinnati, Tennessee game?
Is Derrick Henry playing? So that
he might be playing, right? Or probably playing, but effectiveness is a question.
Yeah, effective. He hasn't played for quite a few weeks. I like the Bengals in this game just because of that. It's because, am I going to put? I'm going to put my money on Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow right now, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's Burrow's got a lot of confidence, and then when you're talking about Chase, that connection right there. I think Mixon's going to be a bigger factor in the game. And yeah, it just a lower scoring game, but still, I think in the end of the day, I think Burrow, I have more confidence than Burrow. I mean, in Burrow than I do in Ryan Tannehill. And his, what does he do? That touchdown celebration. I mean, it's like, what are you doing, man? It's like, don't you know who you are? You're Ryan Tannehill. You're not LeBron James, man. You're just Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's hard to be a fan. It's hard to be a fan of Ryan Tannehill, but he's got his team here. Like they're the number 1 seed, got the bye.
But sometimes that bites you is because, just like Baltimore, the number 1 seed, Lamar Jackson comes in. Oh yeah, they should win. And the team comes in that's hotter. And I think Cincinnati has a lot of confidence, and
yeah,
Tennessee just better come out ready to play because they're going to get hit in the mouth.
now they've been sitting a week. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So Derek, what do you think? Oh, wait, Wes, do you have a score prediction for us?
27-24 Cincinnati.
27-24 Cincinnati. All right.
This for me was the toughest out of the 4 games because I didn't know. I mean, do I go
Earl Campbell,
Oilers, Titans, or do I go Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco Bengals? I just don't know. It's a tough call.
Really, between Earl Campbell and Chad Johnson?
No, between Bengals and Titans. Because Earl Campbell is amazing.
Obviously.
The Bengals have the 5th best run defense in the NFL. Yards allowed. So, and like Wes said, do I trust Tannehill? When it comes down to pick'em games, who's got the better quarterback? And it's not Ryan Tannehill. He's the worst quarterback left in the playoffs right now.
Ooh, yeah, you're right.
Maybe Jimmy G. But right now I'm going to say Tannehill.
I'll take Jimmy G over Tannehill.
Yeah. And the weapons, I mean, Chase, Mixon, Ushma, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. You can't really. The only way for the Titans to win this game is if it's like a slow snail crawl, giant Super Bowl with Otis Anderson type of thing where you have Derrick Henry and Dante Foreman just running 50 rushing attempts. Because I don't think they're going to stop the Bengals. So I got the Bengals winning 21-17. Low scoring because they're going to try and keep it close and
keep it on the ground.
Yeah.
Grind out the clock. Yeah, I got to say, this was probably one of the tougher decisions there. I think it really comes down to, does Derrick Henry play? Probably, right? I mean, he really wants to play. He had his first contact practice and will he be effective? I think this game kind of solely rides around Derrick Henry and his performance. Bengals have good run defense. But even Tannehill, he's got some good receivers, right? He's got some, so even how bad you are, like, you throw it up to Julio Jones, AJ Brown, like they're going to make catches. Like that's just the way it's going to happen, right? So Tannehill can be better than he really is. And this one's just a hard one. I think the Bengals coming off the win, it's kind of that Cinderella story at this point, which is going to end next week, by the way. But I'm going to say that they're going to win it on that hype, right? They won their first playoff game in a long time, and they're coming in and they're excited, and it's going to be the Cinderella of the playoffs, and they beat the Titans. And so I'm going to say they beat the Titans pretty handily, 31-17. So jumping down to the next game here, Derek, San Francisco and Green Bay. I also thought this was one of the more interesting games. What do you think is going to happen here?
I don't have much insight on this one except for it's Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. The whole thing about this was that Aaron Rodgers was going to beat the 49ers. Shanahan had his number. LaFleur's brother is on Shanahan's staff. He hasn't played well against him. He's already beaten the 49ers once this year. And also, it's the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. It is going to be 0 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be cold. And it's going to get even colder as the game goes on. I think the fourth quarter, there was going to be like -7. Green Bay's used to it. 49ers are used to rain and wind. They're not used to negative degrees. I just think the Packers have a more well-rounded team. Besides Deebo Samuel, that's their whole passing attack. So I just feel like the Packers can win running the ball, passing the ball. They have very good defense. Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith, and Whitney Marcellus are all coming back. So 3 defensive players on the team with the best record in the league that haven't played hardly at all this year are all coming back. So that's going to be big. So I don't even have a score written down for this, but I'm going to go Packers 35, San Francisco 17.
Yeah, that's a big score difference there. A lot of great points there. What do you think, Wes? This Packers San Francisco thing, how's it going to turn out?
It's going to be cold. I think that might keep the game a little bit closer, especially the way that the 49ers defense played against the Cowboys. That was impressive. The way they just completely manhandled them, line play. But at the end of the day, am I going to pick again Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy G in the clutch? Devontae Adams is going to make some big plays that are going to probably be the difference in the game. A little bit closer, maybe 31-23.
31-23. Yeah. It's hard in this situation to bet against the Packers at home, cold weather, that time of year. And now you got a California team coming across to play them. The benefit, I think the one good thing San Francisco has going for them is they are a running team. So if they can stick to that and run the ball well, Green Bay's defense is good, but not one of the better running defenses in the league. So they do have a chance to run the ball on them. I think what it comes down to, in my opinion, would be the play calling of San Francisco, especially in 3rd and short. Like 3rd and 5 or less is where they're going to make the difference in this game. If they can make good calls and convert those, they have a chance. If you watch the Dallas game, you're running the ball really well. You're a running team in 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s and 3rd and 4s. They keep coming up with these passing plays. And it's like, you know what? Just trust the run. And it's going to be cold. If they go to those throwing plays in ththat's now even less likely to convert. So it comes down to San Francisco play calling. If they can make a good play calling, they have a chance. I still have to, in this situation, think Green Bay wins the game 21-10. But with that said, I'll leave the door open for San Francisco. Like, if you want to come to dinner, show up.
Has nothing to do with you hating the Packers.
Well, I definitely, I just picked the Packers. So, there's got to be, at some point, you got to realize that the hatred, there's got to be some common sense involved in that too. I would love to see San Francisco win because I hate the Packers, but the way they called in Dallas is what worries me. If you called like that in Dallas, what makes me think you're going to go different in Green Bay?
They let Dallas back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was strictly through play calling. They could have blown that game out early in the first half. Just some terrible play calling, even though they went with a good lead. That was closer than it should have been. Rams and Tampa Bay. So right here, for me, I think this comes down 100% to how Matthew Stafford plays. Tampa Bay is going to come out. They're going to do their thing. Brady's going to be Brady. The Rams defense looked good. They're going to continue to look good. They look decent against Arizona, and Stafford, OBJ showed up and some stuff happened there. But if Stafford can make the open throws, they might have a chance of winning this game. But I just don't believe in Stafford that much. And it's hard to bet against Brady. So I'm going to say a Tampa Bay 31-21. What do you think, Derek?
I am going to say that Tampa is the better team, but they don't have a full team right now. Tristan Wirfs' injury is going to hurt them big time. The right tackle for the Bucs. Also, Ryan Jensen, the center, is dealing with an ankle injury. So what are the two dominant pieces for the Rams? Aaron Donald over the center, Von Miller on the outside. You're now going to have Von Miller going against the second string tackle. And you know what? That's how the Bucs won the Super Bowl last year, is destroying Mahomes with a second string tackle. Von Miller has been a beast. It's like he's gone back to 2015 Von Miller.
He's rejuvenated.
He's got 6 sacks in the last 6 games. Also rejuvenated. OBJ, he has 5 touchdowns in the last 8 games. You know how many he had for Cleveland? He
The
had
whole
7
time?
Yeah, the whole time. 7 touchdowns in 29 games.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we were realizing maybe it wasn't OBJ, maybe it was Cleveland. The Rams, they've got, their defense is going to be stellar. And the problem is Brady doesn't have many weapons right now.
Right.
Fournette, Jones are both banged up. They're both probably going to play, but they're both banged up. So you have Mike Evans and Gronk, and that's it. So I got the Rams winning 35-21. Because also, who came out of nowhere but Cam Akers?
Yeah.
He hasn't played all year, and he looked amazing. So look at that. Now they got their Todd Gurley with Cam Akers, and so that it adds a whole nother dimension to that offense.
You did forget about one guy the Bucs have who's kind of good. He's all right. Tom Brady.
I said Tom Brady
He's decent.
Didn't have his weapons anymore.
Yeah.
And the way you beat Tom Brady is you hit him in the mouth.
Yeah, no, they put some pressure on him for sure.
Von Miller does that.
35-21.
Yep.
All right, Wes, what do you think about that? You gonna say Brady's going out, or are you saying he's moving on?
I want to say he's moving out, of course, every year. But the way the Rams are playing, they're going to come in with confidence. Matthew Stafford, OBJ. It looks like it's one of those games where the Rams, to me, on paper, should win. Just because of injuries have decimated Tampa. But at the end of the day, I think that Stafford plays well, but there's going to be some mistakes made. And Brady is going to capitalize on those at the end of the game. Close game, 26-28. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Rematch with the Packers.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that here next week, but that's a close game, which I think you could be right there. So finishing off the week here, Buffalo, Kansas City. Wes, go ahead and lead us off here. What's going to happen here? Buffalo, Kansas City.
Well, Buffalo comes in a lot of confidence. Kansas City's been playing well for, playing some of the best football in the NFL for many weeks. I don't think this is going to be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be a close game. I really want to take Buffalo. But I think at the end of the day, I think Patrick Mahomes plays his best game of the season. I think he comes out and he puts up, 4 or 5 touchdowns, doesn't make stupid mistakes, plays with consistency. I think the running game is going to be key as well. But I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Say Kansas City 41, Buffalo 37.
That'd be a fun game to watch. I like it. It's going to be that high scoring, Derek. What do you think?
Yes, it will, but we also got to realize Buffalo's D is for real. They're number 1 against the pass. What is Kansas City good at? The pass. So it's strength against strength. The Bills have the 3rd most interceptions in the NFL this year. Patrick Mahomes likes to be Brett Favre and try to make plays out of thin air. So if he gets pressured and then he tries to make a cool little pass, it most likely will get intercepted. The Chiefs are also giving up the 6th most yards in the NFL this year.
That's tough.
So even though their defense has gotten better late, it's still not good. It's the problem is they were so bad that now being a little bad isn't a big, huge improvement, because they looked horrible against the Bengals in the last games of the season. Playing the Steelers, it makes any defense look good. I got the Bills. Well, I have to take the Bills anyway. Spoiler alert, I had them winning the Super Bowl. So I got the Bills winning 42-28.
Yeah, looking in that 30 to 40 range points, I think when you look at these two teams, it's not only possible, but probable. It's really hard to pick a winner here because Kansas City, is really tough when they're scoring the ball, when they're getting points, it's hard to keep them off the field. So at that point, I think Buffalo is a little hit or miss at times. I definitely have them moving forward. I think in a real close game, I'm going to say, 42 to 40, Buffalo's going to win it. So I think, although it could go either way. So there we have it for our divisional round. I'll make sure we get the right score next time. So we got Derek at 4-2. We got Wes at 4-2. We got Big Box at 5-1. So you guys got some catching up to do this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Catch us next time for our recap, and we'll continue to do the NFL playoffs. We're going to get some couple other different podcasts in here. So if you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening, go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification to hear our next podcast. And we will see you guys next week. Peace out, guys.
Watch Wildcats.